when you come in here, for all of you that are brand new to this, what you'll want to do is you can either click on one of these icons, or I always just do Command N, keyboard shortcut, or create new. So let's do that together, please. When this window pops up, you have lots of options. And what's nice is they actually came out with all of these like themes and things that you can use to start with, which can be really nice. I have to be honest, I've never used them once because I always create everything by scratch. So I don't need to start with anything else. So this is an 8.5 by 11 page. And you can see over here, it says inches. I would recommend you work in inches. If your brain is hardwired and you like pikas better or points better, that's fine. But for the size of your artboard, 8.5 by 11 is just easy to remember. And pretty much everything we're going to be doing this semester really should fit on an 8.5 by 11 page. That way you should be able to all print them out of your color printers at your place, right? Because most people's desktop printers are 8.5 by 11 papers, right? And so I'm trying to design everything so it stays within that, so you don't have to be printing huge, large format stuff, okay? So once you see 8.5 by 11, how many artboards, you can decide how many artboards you want here. Just start with one for now, please. Oh, in fact, that reminds me, I need this out.
We're doing this in portrait or landscape?
So we're gonna do this right now. We're gonna do it in portrait. Orientation is portrait. We don't need to set up bleed, but you could. So you could put in here 0.125, which is typically the bleed for most magazine ads, things of that nature, and printing for brochures, those kind of things is 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. CYMK, because if you're doing stuff in print, you want to make sure you're in cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. K is for black. And anything you would do for like web graphics, banner ads, those kind of things, that would be RGB. If you create graphics to go into video, that would be RGB, right? But anything that gets printed has to be CYMK, which should match all of your desktop printers, okay? Just so you know, this is really uber important. Illustrator defaults to 300 dots per inch, which is really important. Okay, so web is what? 72 DPI, right? Dots per inch. Print is always at least 300 dots per inch DPI, or 600 or 1200. It depends on the printing process you're using and the size of the file, right? So if you're doing, well, we do this in one of my other classes, we do big billboards, right? And we do that here at my agency. Well, a lot of times you can do it 50% of scale, but in that class, I'll teach you 1 inch for 1 foot scale. So you have to make doggone sure this is super high if you're going to do 50%. So a billboard, if you built it at 50% of scale, well, if you do it at 300 DPI, what is it really? 150, right? So if you need to have it at 300 DPI, if that's what Lamar, they do the billboards, if they say they need it at a finished 225 DPI, then what do you have to have your resolution at? 450, right? If you're going to do it at 50%, okay? There's more options, but we don't need to do that. So now just say create, and you have this. So this shows you, the red line shows you the bleed. Here's something else that you want to do more times than not. So you want to go up under view or show, and you want to do that for rulers, right? But here's what you need to remember. When you want to show rulers, yes, you can do your drop down and pull down to get to your rulers, but rulers are R, right? You spell rulers with an R. So Command or Alt R, okay? Does that make sense? R makes your ruler show up. So R for rulers, Command C for copy, right? So there's just things that you'll Command O for open, right? So a lot of them are just really common sense, but not all of them. Like Command P is not for paste, that's for print. Command V is for paste. Command X is for cutting, right? So I guess X, if you would think of what scissors look like, an X. So, okay, so once you have rulers up, this is what's important. You can take your tool here, and this is called your selection tool. The nice thing is when you put your cursor over this, it tells you what it is. So if you have your selection tool, you can click up here on your rulers. Can you see that? Click and hold your mouse down and drag. And now you have a guide. You can't put your guides out if you don't have your rulers displayed. Okay, same thing over here. I can pull from the right, pull my ruler out and drop my guide here. And I can always go back and move them around. You can always go back and say guides, clear guides, move guides, smart guides. If you don't want smart guides give you the measurements. But that you can either just highlight it. You can highlight it by clicking on it or clicking over here or over here and dragging over it and then hit your delete key. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions? Pretty straightforward so far? Okay. So say you have an artboard here. I'm going to get rid of this guide for now. Let's just say you have an artboard here, but you realize, oh crap, I need this to be a 9 by 12 and not an 8.5 by 11. Okay, easy peasy. There's a couple things you can do. You can go under up here under document setup at the top, and you can change your guides, change your bleed here, but you can go to edit artboard. And now I'm under edit artboard, and up here I can change it to 9 by 12 and it will automatically change. And then just click any place here on the desktop and it lets go. I want to show you something simpler, okay? Time is money. Over here above this hand, can you see over on the left side of my screen, guys? There's a hand. It says artboard tool. Click on that. It automatically activates this artboard, right? And then look what I can do. I can drag it any size I want, right? I can drag it to 8.11 and I can drag it to 8.5, right? Or once it's activated, I could just go up on the top and change it up here to 8.5 by 11. And all I had to do, instead of doing the drop down and all that, you just click on this tool over here. All right, next thing I want to show you is artboards. So this vertical and horizontal one over on your right, you know what, let me back up 1 second. Depends on what you're looking at, but there up in your top right corner, there's the various ways that your screen can display your options. So as an example, let's just say you want to paint that ballerina. You maybe want to have it set up like this where your paintbrushes and your guides and everything are open more, right? If you're getting something ready for press, you might, to go to the printing company, you might want to use this setup. Typography, if you're working with the guy with the dancing male dancer, you might want to use this one. You just move everything the way I want it. Then you go up under here and you say new workspace and save it and call it your name. So now when I go in here, if somebody else sits on my computer for some random reason and I got stuff screwed around, I just go back and I just click on Susanne's workspace and it's right back to exactly the way I like it, which is neat. Okay, so now if I go to this vertical and horizontal artboards, I'm going to just grab that tab. Can you see that? It's nested in here, but if I don't want it to close, so let's say I have that open, but then I go over here, it closes. And then I go here, that closes. And I'm like, God dang it, stop closing on me because I'm always jumping around. Well, you just grab this tab, drag it out, and now it's always going to be there. It's never going to close unless you take it and you nest it back in here. You drag it in here, see it highlights in blue, and it nests it right back wherever you want. And if I don't want it there, I can nest it here. It'll go wherever you want it to go. But let's just pull it out because what I want to show you is, here's my artboard. It's called Artboard 1. If I go down here at the bottom, can you see this? The plus sign? Click on it. Now I have 2 artboards. Let me zoom out so you can see what's going on here. 2 artboards, okay? And let me get rid of my guide. Then I can click on this one and say 3 artboards. Why would you do that? Well, lots of reasons. Let's just say you're making a brochure or a flyer and you have a front and back page. Or let's say you're doing a whole series of product sell sheets and you want them all to be branded across, then set them all up. I do this a lot because let's just go back to Artboard 1. I double click on it, it changes name, and I can say business card. Because at a corporate identity, it's typically business card, letterhead, and envelope. Okay, but a business card is not 8.5 by 11, is it? No, it's not. Let me try to get this to show up here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to select this. I'm going to select it with my selection key. I'm going to go here, select this artboard tool. I'm going to come up here, and it's a business card. A standard business card is 3.5 by 2. So change it. Okay. I'm going to go to number 2, business card, letterhead, and envelope. I'm going to click on that, double click on it, and I'm going to call this one letterhead. And then the last one I'm going to call number 10, envelope. Oh.
What's the standard business card?
What?
What's the standard business card again?
It's 3.5 by 2 inches. A horizontal business card, 3.5 by 2 inches. Letterhead's 8.5 by 11. And your envelope is typically 4.125 by 9.5. So now I have an envelope. So I'm going to double click on that. So it brings that artboard up. I'm going to click over here on my artboard tool. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say, I need it to be 9.5 by 4.125. That's 1/8 of an inch. And voila. Okay, let me zoom back out. Now we got a mess though, right? Would you agree? These are a mess. They're overlapping. You can't have that. So you got a couple of options. You can come up under here and say, rearrange artboards. Wherever you see these 3 lines, you guys, that means there's more there. If you click on it, it expands it, okay? So here's artboards. I want them to be 2 inches apart. It can show you how you want to zigzag. So I can say, well, I want to line them up this way. I want the spacing to be 2 inches apart because I'm going to have massive bleed. And I say, okay, bam, 2 inches apart. I can say, yeah, I can do that. Or I can say, I want to click this and I'm going to move you over here. I can freehand them and stick them wherever I want. You just grab this, highlights the board, and you can move it wherever you want to move it, right?
Say, this might be sorry if this is a obvious question, but when I go to resize and it gives you 3 different dimensions, am I looking at the wrong place to
So when you
change?
go to resize, what you're really looking
Yeah.
at, this is your X and Y. These are your width and your height. There's only 2 dimensions, width and height. These are your X and
Okay.
Y. You want width and height.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Okay, good question though.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of everything but my letterhead because we're gonna need 8.5 by 11 page. So I see the trash can, I highlight what I don't want, hit trash and trash. Now I only have this. So what I want to show you is, see your tool here? See these little corner arrows here over on the left side of my screen? Whenever you see that, that means there's more under. If you hold your mouse down on it, it shows you all the other shapes. So just take your rectangle tool and make a box, please. How are we doing on time? Oh, a little over half hour left. Okay, here's the deal. Here's your box. Over here, if you click on the white fill and black stroke, those are your combos here, right? White fill, black stroke. You can see it. Okay. If you click any place else, it deselects this. Okay. So here's the deal. If you use your selection tool, no matter where you grab it, you can move it around, right? If you take your direct select tool, something completely different happens. Yes, you can take it and move it around, but what it does is it allows you to grab one line or one anchor point. That's the difference. So when you're grabbing something and you're like, I'm grabbing it, but it's not moving, make sure you're using your direct select tool versus your selection tool. The right tool for the right job makes all the difference in the world, right? So you gotta make sure that you have the right tool here. One of your favorite tools you're gonna love is Alt-Z or Command-Z. It undoes things. It's also under Edit, Undo, Move, Command-Z. Learn it, love it. It's going to be your most used keyboard shortcut of your life. So, okay, so now we have this. Let us do, okay, so let us do this. Take your pen tool. And if you click anywhere on these lines, can you see it made a little square here? Can you see that? There's a little square here. If I click here, it makes a square, it makes these little anchor points, right? So go ahead and do that, please. So what you want to make sure is you have your pen tool and none of the rest of these currently, okay? Once you have that, now try this. Take your selection tool and try to click on that anchor point. Okay, these anchor points you added, try to click on them. What it's doing is it's grabbing the whole line, right? What you want to do and need to do is you grab your direct select tool, right? And then you click on that anchor point, and that's how you can move it around. You can even move the anchor point around. Just because you clicked it here doesn't mean it has to go there. You can put it wherever you want, right? Can you all do that for me, please?
So I'm so sorry. I have to go and pick up my lady
Okay.
from work. I'm sorry about that.
All right, thanks for letting me.
Thank you.
So you took the pen tool and you made a point.
Yep, I added another anchor point to these lines. I'm just clicking on the line. And then you take your direct select tool, whoop, and you can bend them. Click on that and you can bend them. But
Got
you
it.
can't do that with the selection tool. You can only do that with your direct select tool.
Got it.
Okay. All right, so under here, we have rounded corners, like so. But here's the thing that's so cool, is even if you were to pick the rectangle tool, right? It still comes with these little dots. Do you guys see that dot in the corner? Here's what happens. Let's just say you made a rounded corner and you're like, oh, it's gotta be bigger. It's gotta be 1/4 of an inch rounded corner. You just click on that dot and it pulls them all in. And you can say, oh, this one didn't have rounded corners. Dang it, they changed their mind. They told me they need to be rounded corners now. Fine, drag it, make a rounded corner.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? That's what
Mhm.
those little spots are. And if you have a round corner and you don't need a rounded corner, like you could even do something crazy like that, push it all the way out. Just drag that dot all the way out and it gets rid of all the rounded corners. Super fun and easy.
Wow.
Easy
Is that with
peasy,
the
right?
direct tool or selection tool?
Pardon?
Is that with the direct tool or the
The
selection
selection tool.
tool? Okay.
But you can use your direct select tool for this as well. Either one will work for this particular thing. Okay, so good question. Okay, all right, so let's keep going. All right, what I want you to do is take your selection tool, drag down the guide. Okay, so we all have a guide.
To any place?
Yep, any place, and bring it down 1 inch or 2 from the top of your page. Then what I want you to do is take your ellipse tool. We're going to make a circle, okay? So take your ellipse tool. Here's the deal. If you just click and drag it, it's going to stretch any size that whatever you drag it to, right? You can make this any size you want. You want a perfect circle, hold down your shift key and you can drag out a perfect circle. You got to hold down your shift key. It works the exact same way with any of these other ones, right? I can drag out a rectangle, or if I want a square, I hold down my shift key and drag, and it locks the X and Y to a perfect square. So please do that as well. Make yourself a star. Hold down your shift key, make yourself a star. Then what you can do is you don't have to go to your rotate tool to rotate. You can literally leave it with your selection tool. If you put your selection tool over one of these corners, can you see that little corner radius icon shows up? That allows you to spin it as much as you want. But here's the thing, if you hold down your shift key, it locks it in 45 and 9-degree turns. Do you see that? It locks it. And I'm here to tell you that will come in really handy. All right, so let's do this. Take your ellipse tool again, hold down your shift key and make a circle. When you have this circle selected, go up under Object. Well, actually edit. Let's just do say copy, Command C, Command F, pasted right in front. Hold down your Shift key, because that will lock it from swirling all over your page, and drag it over here. Let me show you that again. I'm going to select this object, go to Edit and Copy, Command C, go to Edit, and paste in front is Command F. So it's right on top of this. If I don't hold down my Shift key, she just goes wherever. If I hold down my Shift key, she's going to slide perfectly over here. Now get a load of this. Here's something really quick and easy. All right. While this is selected, you can duplicate this, right? And the easiest way to duplicate is you can go down here and transform and duplicate and all that kind of stuff. Or you could just hit duplicate. It starts with a D. So Command D, whoops. I can drag it over. Oh, let me do this. Drag it over. In fact, let's back up one more step. Select this object. I'm going to put a color in it so it's easy to see from my background. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
So when I go ahead and when I make the ellipse, I'm not getting a actual line. I'm not getting the line around the circle. Like it's
My
just
guess is you are,
disappearing.
and you just don't have your fill and stroke selected. You can hit your D.
Oh, okay. Up. Oh, you're right. There it is. Yep.
If you
Got it.
made a whole bunch of things on your page and you can't say it, you can go to View, Outline, or Command Y, and you can see everything on your page. So let's just say you
Okay.
did something and that's all like no line, right? And you're like, I got nothing. I swear to God, I put stuff on here. Command Y or Outline, you did, it's right there. It just doesn't have a color assigned to it. Okay, so let me teach you a shortcut now. So I'm going to select it with my selection key. I'm holding Option Shift down, right? Okay, so I'm selecting this. I'm holding Option Shift. I'm dragging it over till it's right there. Did you see it said intersect? If you aren't getting guides, go ahead and make sure this is selected. You go to View, Smart Guides. So if you aren't seeing measurements, go under View, down to Smart Guides. Okay, and then you'll see them. Now I need to reselect mine. Okay, should have a check mark. While this is selected, check it out. Command D, 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 D. Voila! Now I can grab all these and I can drag them down. Let me go all the way out and I can hit D, 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 duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. And if I don't want them, I can take my selection tool, click and drag over them. Can you see my little dotted line? Drag over and hit delete. Cool beans, huh?
How'd you get to the second row?
I just dragged them down.
You drag down.
Select.
Okay.
I'm dragging over these with my selection tool and not my direct select. And I'm holding down my Option Shift. Option Shift. Hold down those keys while you're dragging and then hit Command D, D, D. And then undo, 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 Command Z. Oh, actually, let me do this. Okay. All right, so now what I want you to do, select all these, and you can do it one of two ways. You can say Command A for select all, right? Or I can take my selection tool, drag it over just part of these. It'll select all of it. And then you go to Object to Group, Command G, Group G. Now it's all grouped. So no matter which one I select, they'll all move together. All right, so does everybody have a line and some circles?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now what I want you to do is take your pen tool. This time though, click on the fill, bring it to the front, and then click on this icon that says none. So there's a red line through it. Then click on your stroke, so that comes to the foreground, and then just pick a different color for your stroke. So what we want to do is we want to click here, I'm going to hold my shift key down so I know it's exactly up here. If I don't, I'm guessing here or here or here or here. If I hold my shift key down, it's going to go right here every time. Okay, so do this with me. Click, hold your shift key down, click. I'm holding my shift key down the entire time. I have not let go of my shift key. Okay, now you can see this thing is hung on. I just hold my command key and click on the desktop and it lets go. So please do that for me. Okay, now look what we're going to do. I want you to delete this, select it and delete it. But this time, watch me first, okay? Then we'll do it together. I'm clicking here. I'm clicking here, but I'm holding my shift key down and I'm clicking and holding my mouse down and I'm dragging my mouse over here. Then I'm still holding my shift key down. I'm clicking here. I'm still holding my shift key down. I'm clicking, and while I'm holding my mouse down, I'm dragging the anchor point. Clicking here, click, hold, and drag while I'm holding the mouse and the shift key down. Click and drag. Not clicky, clicky, click and drag. I have not let go. After I drag it here, then I let go of the mouse. Okay? All right, let's do it together. All right, so you've got your pen tool, click here, hold your shift key down. You're not going to let go of your shift key. Click up here, don't let go. Keep holding your mouse down. After you've dragged out your anchor point, and if your line is lined up on top of the black line, then let go of your mouse, but not your shift key. Now I'm clicking here. I'm clicking and dragging. Now I'm letting go of my mouse. I'm coming down here and I'm clicking. Click and drag. Then let go. After you've dragged out the anchor points, then you let go.
So drag and then let go and then click.
Yep. Click and drag. After you've dragged out these blue anchor points, then you can let go. Click, and I'm dragging this slightly as well. And then over here, you can either come over here and click on your selection tool or just hit Command and click on your desktop. All right, so now take your selection tool and drag it down here. If you want to drag it straight down, hold down your shift key. All right, see your eraser and scissors and knife. If I click on this little arrow here, it pops them all out. So we'll take your eraser. Look how cool this is. So you can click on your eraser. It's really tiny. Let me just click on that. I need to make this much bigger. Let's make it like 30 points. So double click on your eraser and you can choose the size eraser you want by adjusting it right here. So once you have your eraser, check it out. You literally can just erase all this. Is that not neat? You can also take your scissor tool and wherever you click, it cut that end off. I'll click here and here. Now if I take my selection tool, I can actually move that piece apart and cut it apart. The same thing works with the knife. Make any shape you want here. And then make sure you have a fill color on it. And then if you take your knife, I can free form and cut that thing apart. Now, here's the deal. Can you see my screen? If I take my selection tool or my direct select, I can pull it apart. So now that we have like this poly tool or star tool, right? Pick one of them. I don't care which one. Just pick one of these. By default, it comes with 6 sides, but you can double click on it. My machine's thinking. Why are you thinking? Stop thinking. Okay, poly sides. Pick one. Make it a size you want. You can pick the radius as big as you want as well. And bam, there it is. Same thing with any of these. The star tool, it defaults to this. Click on the desktop, double click, click on the desktop and say how many. So let's just say you're doing a burst, right? You're doing a starburst for an ad. And we're gonna do 1.5 here, and then the inside will be 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch, right? So the radius for the outside of the burst is gonna be 1 inch. The inside radius is 0.75. I put 20 points on it, say, okay, there it is. And I can size it. If I hold my shift key down, I can keep it round. If I need an oval burst, well, I just grab the bottom without holding the shift key down, and I can put any burst in I want. Cool beans, yeah? All right, let's do this. Let's clear all of this off, select it all, or say Command A to select all and hit your delete key. So clear your artboard for me, please. We're gonna go ahead and do your line tool. So I'm gonna go back and default here. Lines can go any way you want, right? If you want it to lock horizontally or at a 45 or a 90, you gotta hold your shift key down. So under your line tool, hold your shift key down and you can lock your lines. Then you got an arcing tool. This is pretty cool. If you hold your shift key down, it keeps it a perfect partial square or circle. But if you don't hold your shift key down, you can bend it any way you want. So please play with that. Spiral is really neat. Depending how you click and drag will depend on how she spirals. But you can select this tool, double click on your desktop and say, well, I want more spirals. Okay, fine. Here's more. See how many tightly wound it got? Your rectangle tool is the same thing. Say you're doing a grid. Let me just select all this, clean this off. Your grid tool, if you pick your rectangle grid tool, if I don't hold down my shift key, this will be any size I want. If I hold down my shift key, it's going to make a perfect grid. So please do that. All right, so let's use your line segment tool. Make a line, please. Make a couple lines for me, please. I'm clicking and dragging and making a couple lines. Make some lines. Select one of these. Okay, so now over on the side, this is for your stroke, where everything's in there as well, right? On the right. It's also on top. So I have one selected, but it's really thin. I want to make it a beefier one. So I'm going to say 5 point. Okay. Then I don't want it uniform. In fact, let me make it even bigger. Let me do 10 point. And then I want it to be this shape. I can pick this one and say 10 point. And I want to make it that shape. So you can go in here and see all these really cool default shapes it has, right? Not only that, but there's all these different strokes you can apply to it. These are by default what's in here. But if I go over here to my strokes, right? I can do more in here. So as an example, let me just take this one. Let me move all these out of the way. And let me say I want it bigger. I want to make it 5 point. I don't know if you guys can see this really well. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay. See how the end cap, the anchor point goes all the way to the end of the line? If I select this one, it rounds the end of the line. If I select this one, it goes past the bottom anchor point, right? Kind of cool. I can say I want to make this a dash line. So I click dash and I can say, well, it's 12 wide, 12 space. Well, I only want the spacing to be really narrow. So I'm going to do my spacing like this. And then I can say, well, I want this one to be much bigger than 3, right? Kind of like a Morse code kind of deal, right? So you can decide what you want your dotted line to look like. Super easy. Then you can say, okay, well, actually, I'm making an arrow. So this is my arrowheads or tail, right? Depends on which way you want your arrow to go. And I can pick this for the back of the arrow. Then I can say, ooh, the front of this arrow is like really big. I'm going to make that 50% smaller. And I'm going to make the end of it 25% of size. Oh, that doesn't look right, does it? So then I go, okay, 75%. Oh, no, maybe 50%. You decide. Isn't that neat? So you have a lot of control in here, which is super cool. But let me show you something else. And here's what I'll tell you. You guys need to go back and work this stuff, right? Just because I'm showing it to you doesn't mean, okay, I've seen it, I don't need to do it. Yeah, you do. Spend some time and go in here and play. That's how you're going to remember stuff. Okay, let's take this one. And let's go under brushes. Can you see brushes here? Wherever there's 3 lines, click on it, show options. Okay, so now we're going to go to brushes, and these are the defaults that were the same up here, right? But you can go here to go to more, or if you have your brushes open, the paint can with brushes, click on the 3 lines, go down to open brush library. Now you have all of these brushes, and this is what you're going to use when you paint your ballerina and some other things. But this is where there's some really cool brushes in here. I'm just going to say artistic. It opens this up. You can make your own brushes. I'll teach you that too, as I showed you. But I can select this and I can say, I want it to be that effect. So now I have this, and I can select different brush strokes for it. And when I do that, by default, it's going to add them in here. Like, okay, you obviously want to keep using these. This one even, look at this one. It's blue jeans. It's a photorealistic looking pair of blue jeans. Is that not funny? But I'm adding all mine in here. As I'm clicking on them, they're automatically getting added into my options here. Okay? Pretty cool, huh? So you can just close it. If you want to drag your stroke, just drag it in here, drop it, and let go. All right, the other thing I guess I want to still show you a couple things. Okay, so up here are your swatches. These are for color, like blending. When you go up here and color guide, it tells you all these other colors would look really good together, right? So that's pretty cool. Your swatches are here. They're also up here under swatches. I'm going to go ahead and drag this out so it's over here. And as I go through these, I'm going to drag this one out too. If I go through these, look at all the color combinations are changing over here, telling me what's complementary with each other. But what you're going to love is this. See the three lines? Click on it for me, please. Should open up. Go back down to open swatch libraries, but instead we're not doing brushes this time, we're doing colors. There's all these colors. So there's art history colors. Okay, let's open it up. It says ancient. So they're saying these are colors if you're doing something that's old fashioned or ancient. If you go back down and go over here, I can say celebration colors. Well, there's a whole lot. Celebration is bright and colorful. So they're all in here, earth tone colors, right? They've already done these presets for you, which I think is just brilliant. You could even go up under here. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you can go to metal. So why would you use metal? Okay, well, let's talk about that for just a quick second. I know we're almost done. So, all right, so let's just say I have this and I want to put a gradient in here. Over here, where did it go? I must have it over here someplace. Oh, I do. Okay, so here's my gradient. So I can say, all right, up in here is your default for your gradient. Can you see that? Okay. If I want metallic, I can say, okay, well, let me make a gold metallic. So I'm going to put this in here, and then I'm going to drop this one in because it's telling me what colors would go in here. I'm dropping this on top of my white. I'm dropping this in, and put back to dark, then I'll go back to light. And now I have my own metallic. It's up here. I want to keep it in my library. Can you see this? Are y'all watching me? I'm clicking and I'm dragging this down here, and now it's permanently in my swatch library. Isn't that neat? And let's just say we type a word. Let me make some room here. Let me say golden. And I'm going to go up under my fonts up here, and I'm going to say impact. Okay, make it big and bold. Okay. And then I can apply this to it. Now here's what happens, isn't this neat? So I can apply something to this. I can go, it's typable, it's editable. Remember when I said convert to outlines? Watch this, guys, please watch my screen. Convert, I have it highlighted, convert to outlines, right? So you can go up under your type and objects, right? And create outlines, type, create outlines, or Shift Command O. Now these are objects. I can no longer type on it. They're actually independent shapes. Now I can fill it full of a color. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but here's golden. If I take my angle, we're going to do this again. So I can drag it over all of it. So the gradation goes over all of it. And I can change the direction of it. So we're going to do more about this later. But basically, you can play a lot with colors. And the reason I'm showing you is because this is gradation. You can say, well, it doesn't look right. Oh, I can double click on this. I can open it up. And I can do whatever I want with it, right? So you have control over that as well. So you can say, double click on the swatch. Yeah. I can say, I need this to be much darker. Okay, I'm making it much darker. Right? So isn't that fun? I can just go back up here and say Susanne's Workplace, reset. Okay, I'm gonna grab all this, I'm gonna throw it away. All right, let's do this last thing together. It will be in the video as well, but I only have you a couple more minutes. Go to File, Place. Let me find, where's my other Marvin? This one. Okay, I'm gonna put him in here. He's gonna be really big. So here's an easy way to size. You can either size them down by double clicking on your size tool, right? And you can size them down that way. Make sure you have your preview selected, or honestly, what's so much easier, I just grab this corner, hold down my Shift key to keep my X and Y the same, and I just drag it over, make it the size I want. Okay, once you get him, right, I want you to object, lock them. Lock your selection, Command 2. And then what I want you to do, I want you to take your pen tool. Go back to this, let me make this more obvious, pick a red. I want you to recreate Marvin the Martian. Okay, and I want you to color him. The way you color him though is you have to complete your shapes, okay? Which means you have to, oops. You have to have, let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. You have to have a closed path, okay? So you have to have a closed path, which means you have to click back on the anchor point that you started on. I'm clicking here, clicking in here, click and drag. I'm going a different direction, so I'm clicking back on that anchor point, clicking here, click and drag so I can bend it. Click here, click and drag because I want to bend it. Click here and drag so I have these anchor points. So once I have these anchor points, I can take my direct select tool and I can click and move them around, right? Can't do it with your selection tool, you have to do it with your direct select tool. Then once you have this, I can come up under my, oh, my swatches disappeared. If you don't see your swatches, go up under Window, down to Swatches. All your menus are in here, Swatches, open it up. And I can say yellow. Oh, no, I don't, I want that to be black. I want the inside, click the fill to come to the foreground. And I can just do it this way too. I want yellow. And then you can say, yeah, but there was stuff underneath. Fine, I can select this with my selection tool, object, right? Hide selection, Command 3. Then I can come down here with my pen tool and I can put in black lines. It doesn't have to be exact. What I'm looking for is how good you are with the pen tool. Do I expect you to be perfect the first time out? No, but this is a really good time that you could go back and redo it for extra credit. Now I can say show all. And then I can say I'm going to move this around. So leave it, right? With my selection tool, I can move all my stuff around, okay? Then I can come down to the next piece and I can make that shape. Click and drag. Not clicky, clicky. And I say that because some of you will. You do every time, even when I tell you over and over not to. Okay, now I can take my direct select tool, I can bend these, I can move these around, right? And if I want that exact color, I can literally take my eyedropper and sample it. I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but right? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to come in here and you need to recreate Marvin the Martian.